If you've ever played Call of Duty Zombies, then you've probably played this map before. But which version have you played? And what if I said these weren't the only versions that exist? Come along as we go over the complete history of Nacht or Untoten. We actually need to go a little further back to get to the first version of Nacht or Untoten. Located in an airfield just outside of a Japanese swampland in the mission Hard Landing in World at War, you'll notice a building that looks very similar to Nacht or Untoten, however differences can be noticed right away. As mentioned, this version of Nacht is located in Japan instead of Germany, with a more open air concept to the bunker. Upon entering the building, changes are more apparent. However, a few key features remain, such as the spiral staircase and general layout. Changes in this version consist of Japanese flag, this random doorway that's exploded for seemingly no reason, as well as the largest collection of filing cases, and yet despite the open concept the Japanese went with, there are several windows missing from the zombies version of the map. I mean, we're using a single lantern to light this entire side of the building, and this would be only the first of 7 locations that this map would be found in. Now, depending if you chose to play multiplayer instead of the campaign, you may have played a map conveniently named Airfield, which if you can guess is also located at the Japanese airfield base in Hard Landing. Located on the southwest end of the map, you will find the Nacht or Untoten building. However, this version seemingly takes place prior to the events of the campaign, as the building is mainly intact and not yet on fire. However, this is only for the Nacht or Untoten building itself. If you take a walk around the airfield, there are a few things that you would not expect to see in a pre-war airfield, such as all these crashed planes, these random fires, and several military vehicles. Comparing both the Hard Landing map and Airfield map together, despite their differences, it becomes clear that Treyarch would use the layout of Airfield for inspiration for the inside as well as the outside of the original Nacht or Untoten. On November 16, 2009, off the heels of the success of World at War Zombies, Treyarch would work with Idealwork Game Studio to release a mobile version of World at War Zombies. This mobile app would include versions of the 4 original Zombies maps that were in World at War, including Nacht or Untoten. This version of Nacht or Untoten would remain unchanged from the original version, however with worse graphics and controls expected with a mobile app. After 9 years, the app was removed from the App Store for Call of Duty's other mobile app, Call of Duty Mobile. World at War Zombies Mobile is now lost to time with only its memories and footage to remember it by. The next version of Nacht or Untoten would come with the release of the Resurrection DLC for Call of Duty Black Ops 1. This DLC would bring all of the original zombie maps from World at War into Black Ops 1. For the most part, all of these maps were a direct port from World at War with updated graphics to fit the style of Black Ops 1, as well as replace the wall weapon options with ones that fit the current game. However, Nacht or Untoten was not like the rest of the maps added with this DLC, as perk machines were added to the map in the Black Ops 1 version. You see, perk machines first came out with the second Zombies map to release in World at War, meaning the original version of Nacht or Untoten never had perk machines. The only thing I do not understand is why Treyarch would choose to pick Mule Kick as the only perk to be on the map when there were so many better options. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 would bring Nacht or Untoten to its third unique map, this time located in a cornfield in America. Nacht or Untoten would be included as a hidden feature in the launch map Transit. The only way to access this area was to ride the bus to the flashing lamppost in between the farm and power station. Once you get to the lamppost, you need to jump off the bus and head towards the cornfields. Following the trail in the cornfields, you will come across a version of Nacht or Untoten that is pretty true to the original version, even on the outside with this wall. On the inside, this door replaces the original window, and unfortunately the main spiral staircase is destroyed, meaning we cannot enter the second floor of this area. We are also restricted to the main area of Nacht or Untoten as the help door is not buyable, causing this area to be treated as a hidden start room survival map of Nacht or Untoten. There was no reason to come to this area other than for exploring, as the only reason for entering this area of the map was for a part for the jet gun buildable. If you weren't building the jet gun in your game, you may have never known that this map was in the deep fog. The next release of Nacht or Untoten would come with the Chinese exclusive release of Call of Duty Online Cyborg Rising. This mode's take on zombies would be quite unique, as the depiction of zombies is actually banned in China. Due to this ban, Raven Software, the creators of Call of Duty Online, decided to replace zombies with robots. Raven were actually innovators when it came to this mode, as it would be the first time in Call of Duty history that you could spawn in with a predetermined loadout. This version of Nacht or Untoten, named Outpost, is by far the most futuristic take on the map. Outpost would also take us to our 4th unique location, presumably somewhere in China. The layout of this map would not differ from the original, with the only changes being the additions of ammo crates, random technology on the walls to fit the futuristic theme, and the ability to exfil out of the map once you were ready to leave the game. The part of this map that is the most interesting to me is the only English in the entire map is this random billboard in the distance and the help door. Also, despite the fact the barriers are no longer wood but instead replaced by metal, and yet the help door is still a poorly textured piece of wood is easily my favorite feature of this map. Black Ops 3 would be the first time that Nacht and Untoten would appear in a zombies mode more than once in a single title. Nacht was first featured in the map Revelations, which was scheduled to be the final DLC for Black Ops 3. We will come back to this a little later. This map would take players through a fractured Agartha, which featured several fan favorite zombies maps, including Nacht and Untoten. This version of Nacht is similar to the classic version, however, as you continue to explore, you will quickly notice that this is not the version of Nacht that you are used to. For starters, this is the most damaged version of Nacht and Untoten we have seen, which is saying a lot since the first version we went over was literally during a war. The area with the most damage in this map is the box room, which has been broken in half, leaving a smaller area. Upon heading up the stairs, you will find a buildable table. Now, the biggest addition in this version is in the spiral staircase room upstairs. To address the elephant in the room, yes, they finally added Juggernog to Nacht and Untoten. Oh yeah, they also expanded this area as well. And if you're lucky, you might get a pet apothecarian to show up. Just make sure he doesn't eat you. He has a history of that. There are certain things in life that you remember vividly. A moment that lives in every Zombies fan's memory is the announcement of Zombies Chronicle, the bonus DLC for Black Ops 3. This DLC brought back 8 of the community's favorite maps in true to original remasters of the maps. For Nacht and Untoten, Treyarch chose to use Black Ops 1 as the version to remaster, as the Zombies Chronicle version includes the meal kick machine that was added in the Black Ops 1 version. The only other additions to this version of Nacht and Untoten is the Wonder Fizz and the addition of the Gobblegum machine, which were featured in every Black Ops 3 Zombies map. Call of Duty Mobile Zombies mode would release an expanded version of Nacht and Untoten in early 2020 named Night of the Undead. This was the biggest version of the map to date. While the layout remains mainly the same, this version added several perk machines, as well as for the first time, the Pack-a-Punch machine would appear within the starting room of Nacht and Untoten. However, this mode allows for an additional door to be opened, where there is an additional perk machine and plenty of room to run around. This version of Nacht only existed for a few months before it would be replaced by Shino Numa, and has not been seen again. Call of Duty Cold War's launch map D-Machine would completely reimagine Nacht and Untoten as we know it. While I could make an entire video about the depths of this entire map, for this video we're only going to stick to the main building in the courtyard. D-Machine would take Nacht and Untoten to its 6th location in the franchise, this time being located in Poland. Unlike every other version of Nacht, D-Machine starts with the player spawning into the courtyard. After spawning in, it is noticeable that a few graffiti artists have visited Nacht and Untoten. The interior of the building takes on a brighter tone than any other version of the map, with graffiti and Christmas lights in the main area. Now, why we decided to waste gas to run this generator in a zombies apocalypse only to run Christmas lights, I have no clue. Once upstairs is where this area of the map becomes truly unique. Part of the roof has collapsed in, and for the first time, you can go onto the roof of Nacht and Untoten. After round 15, the Wonder Fizz will spawn on top of the roof. In DLC 4 of Call of Duty Zombies, Treyarch would release the map Forsaken. On the surface, this map has nothing to do with Nacht and Untoten. We have to dive a little deeper to actually find Nacht. Nacht and Untoten can be seen teased on the sign of the movie theater in the west area of Anytown.
That's all, folks.
The map can actually be found right behind us in the arcade. If you walk around the arcade, you will find an arcade machine for Call of Duty World at War. If you choose to play the arcade machine, you'll be teleported into it, where you will have to survive in the starting room of Nacht and Untoten for 2 minutes and 35 seconds with only a pistol. This would be the final time Nacht and Untoten would be seen in a Treyarch game. Call of Duty Warzone Pacific would bring Nacht and Untoten to its 7th unique location on an island in Southeast Asia. This version of Nacht can be found in the runway area of the map. Nacht and Untoten in Warzone Pacific is cleaned up on the inside and is being used as a barracks for soldiers. The layout of this version is very similar to the map Airfield in World at War, with this version being used as a barracks. The rooms are laid out quite differently, with each room having a designated purpose, such as a medic's room, a bunk room, a planning room, and a communications room. While the outside of the map doesn't seem bigger than the Airfield map in World at War, the interior of Warzone Pacific feels much bigger to run around in. While this is every version of Nacht and Untoten that exists to date, with how often Call of Duty likes to bring back this map, I'm sure this video will be outdated within a few years.